Haston here, Israel Uncensored, Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is the 24th of Cheshvan, 5778, or Monday, November 13th, 2017. Hope you're doing well in your part of the world, wherever you are. Thanks so much for listening. Get in touch with me, Josh at thelandofisrael.com. On Facebook, it's Joshua Haston. On Twitter, at Josh Haston. And we are going to get to our guest here in just a minute. And I'll give a little background before that. But before we do so, I just want to mention that a few weeks ago, if you recall, we interviewed Ben Packer, head of the Jerusalem Heritage House, a youth hostel for lone soldiers, and just an amazing activist. He does so much for the Jewish people. If you go to Haaretz yesterday, there was a whole article criticizing Ben Packer, calling him an extremist settler for all the work he does in places like Hebron and Jerusalem and whatnot. And I'm pointing this out to you, number one, because it was pretty comical to see that article. Number two, he actually, the article actually quotes the comments he gave on our show on the Land of Israel Network here, Israel Uncensored. So it was an honor, actually, to be quoted yesterday in Haaretz and have this show quoted in Haaretz. That means they're actually reading or listening to the Land of Israel Network. They're actually paying attention to what we're saying. And, of course, they're upset about what we're saying. But we're going to continue to broadcast to you the truth each and every day here on the Land of Israel Network. And so it was an honor. It was great that we were mentioned in Haaretz, even though we completely disagree with what they were trying to do, trying to make us out look bad. But they actually gave us some free publicity, as well as for Rabbi Ben Packer and the important work he does. Now, I brought this issue up in the past. I live in the community of Elazar, which is in Gush Etzion, and there's a neighborhood here within the community called Netiv HaAvot. Now, Netiv HaAvot, 15 houses in the community are scheduled for demolition come March 2018. So here we had 9 homes demolished in Ofra. We had the entire community of Amona. And we've talked about this for years now. Those people have been listening to my shows, whether it's homes in Bet El, whether it's Migron, Jewish homes being destroyed, not because some Arab comes forward and has ownership or claims ownership over certain property, but because radical anti-Israel organizations come forward. And because of Basil's hatred, that's really what it comes down to. Basil's hatred, they cannot stand the lifestyle and the progress being made and the beautiful, thriving communities being created here in Judea and Samaria. That's really what it comes down to. You can talk about the legal aspect, and we'll get to that with our guest here in a minute. But it really comes down to baseless hatred. So again, in March of 2018, 15 homes slated for demolition, but it's starting now. It's starting even, God forbid, but this week, one of the businesses situated there in Netiv HaAvot, a woodworking shop, is slated for demolition as early as today. It could happen today, tomorrow. So the community is mobilizing here in Elazar and Netiv HaAvot in that neighborhood to try to do what we can to save the community, save the houses, and save really the lifestyle and the overall well-being of our fellow neighbors. So here to discuss that is one of the activists who is leading the charge here to try to save the homes of her neighbors here in Netiv HaAvot. My neighbor, Tali Tarlo, she joins us here on the Israel Uncensored, Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. Tali, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Josh. It's really nice to be here with you.
So if you can, just give our listeners an update. I think we talked about this a few months ago. The High Court of Justice in Israel said all 15 houses must go, and 2 other structures, including this woodworking factory, which is scheduled to be demolished this week. What can you tell us at this hour?
So first of all, we have a hashtag. It's called 17 Homes because every house has a story, and that's what a home is about. And as Josh said, there are 15 homes, but there are 2 other structures. Where we're holding at the moment is we're waiting. We know that these homes and these buildings will be destroyed. There is no way out of the situation. The High Court has ordered it. And as a community, we've come together to escort our neighbors through this very, very difficult period in which they're going to be losing their homes, some of their livelihood, and help them in the next chapter. because what happens where they're going to live, where they're going to be next, what happens the day after and the month after and the year after. So that's kind of where the community is holding at the moment. We're here to support. We're also here to tell the story. We believe that there is a story that needs to be told of these people. And while they're dealing with the facts of homes being destroyed, families being homeless, we're here to tell the story and make sure that everyone knows about it.
Isn't there a way, and you mentioned that, it's pretty much a done deal because of the High Court of Justice ruling, isn't there a way that the government can somehow, I know that there's legislation on the table perhaps that would allow the government, not only in this situation, but in other situations, would allow the government to overrule a high court decision when the high court sticks its nose in places that it doesn't belong? Is there any way that could, that whole process and procedure could come to be so quickly as to perhaps save these homes, or as you mentioned, is it completely a done deal at this point?
It seems to be a done deal. I wish that I could say that something will happen overnight. It doesn't seem like this is going to happen, unfortunately. And the kind of people that live in Netiv HaAvot and live here in Elazar are people who are realistic, who are down to earth, and are not going to put blinders around our eyes and imagine that something else is going to happen. So there is a lot of work to be done in the meantime. Especially what isn't closed is, as I said, where they're going to live. And that is a battle that is continuing to be fought with the policymakers in Knesset, in courts, etc. But, it looks like these homes will be destroyed.
And let me just share with listeners the absurdity of the situation here. Here you had a group of, I will call them pioneers, back in 2001, who went up and decided that they were going to build homes in the land of Israel, similar to the way that the kibbutz founders did back in the day, meaning this was what they believed to be state land, just like kibbutzim back in the 40s and 50s. They took over an area which was state land. They were supported by the government. They were given, I think it was 300,000 shekel in infrastructure, in roads, and electricity, and sewage, and water. So they had the support of the government. And then comes along a radical, I would call them anti-Israel organization, who claims that they have some owner of the land on which part of the houses sit on. When I say part of the houses, I mean that, let's say, 2 meters of one house, 3 meters of another house, 5 meters of another house could potentially be questionable. In other words, somebody could have a home, and this is the actual case, where a living room is kosher, so to speak. I mean, I believe all the houses are kosher in their entirety, but a bathroom is not kosher. So you had 6 out of the 15 homes. The residents of those homes went and approached the High Court of Justice again and said, listen, we will cut out those sections of our homes. We will cut out 2 meters here, 5 meters there. That way we will be in full compliance of the ridiculousness, even though it's crazy, with what you are asking. And what did the court say? The Bagatz, the High Court of Justice, said, no, we don't even want to hear from you. They said, we've already made our ruling. We are destroying your entire house, regardless of if you make your house smaller, if you move things around, if you cut off rooms, your children's rooms, a kitchen here and there. It doesn't matter. They decided overall. So, in other words, you have practical residents who are trying to accommodate, yet the Supreme Court said, go home, we've made this decision. Tal, you have something to add here.
Yeah, I do want to add that, we're talking about these strips of land that you say, Josh, is a meter or half a meter or 2 meters wide, little parcels inside the houses or inside the grounds of the houses. So I want to just tell you another anecdote which highlights the absurdity of the situation. One of the houses recently came off the list of houses to be destroyed. Why? Because the initial photographs which marked the strips of problematic, in inverted commas, problematic land. When there was it was marked by an aerial photo, a very, very early aerial photo, I think from the 1960s or the 1970s. And when they digitized the photo, the pencil line became thinner. Okay. And so when they looked at the new digital prints and they saw the pencil line skipped the house. Okay. The fate of that house, and all the houses are based on a pencil line, a sharp little point of a pencil. And that's what this family, that was how the family was hanging on the balance. So the situation is incredibly absurd.
Yeah, you're talking about lines on a map or pencils, as you said. And over time, for one reason or another, the civil administration moved those pencil lines. I mean, originally, and I've talked about this on the show in other communities as well, you have what is known as blue lines, the lines within which within a community exists, and homes are only allowed to be built in those lines. And you had original blue lines, and then you had blue lines which were moved or lessened or what have you, and that created the situation we're in today. Again, remember, these people in 2001 were building with the assumption that this was state land. There wasn't any problem. The only problem was the bureaucracy completely legalizing their homes. And I can't tell you how many thousands of buildings throughout Israel are in the same category, meaning they have the same problem, and that they're not 100% officially legal. They don't have that final stamp of approval, yet everyone knows that the land is kosher, and there shouldn't be any problems. But I'm going back to the fact that, unfortunately, and I believe this, and we saw this in Gush Katif. In Gush Katif, we were told in 2005, when 10,000 Jews were thrown out of their homes and their bodies of the dead were exhumed from the ground and brought into other areas in the country, we were told that this was going to bring us security. We were told that was the point. We have to do this for security. And afterwards, after it happened, the elitists and the intellectuals and a lot of the mainstream media, they admitted this had nothing to do with security. This had a lot to do with sticking it to what they call the settlers, to certain communities, really showing them who's boss. Even with an increase in rockets by 500% after Gush Katif, the withdrawal, it didn't matter. The same people who were running from the rockets in Tel Aviv and in Herzliya and in other areas, as we saw in 2014, they didn't mind running from the rockets, because at the end of the day, they got what they wanted, and they got those Jews thrown out of their homes. It is baseless hatred. It's a legal battle, and this is a Bagatz, High Court of Justice ruling, but it stems from just hatred. That is the reason why you have these organizations who are Jewish organizations, if you want to call them that. They're the ones who have brought this to the courts. They're the ones who are continuing to call for the demolition of Jewish homes. And it really has nothing to do with security or legalities or standing up. This isn't going to benefit any Arab. No Arab will ever have access to the sites where these homes, please God, will remain. But if they're destroyed where they are, it's all about sticking it to the Jews, the so-called settlers, the people in Judea and Samaria. But I want to go back to the practical and the situation on the ground. This week, Tali, a woodworking factory is supposed to be demolished. So if you can, talk about what the residents are doing here in Elazar to try to prevent the demolition of the woodworking factory, and what activities are being held this week in order to try to support those families, and specifically this week, the family of the person who owns that factory.
Okay. Before I tell you that, I just want to add one more thing about this, about the carpentry workshop that's going to be destroyed. The owner this week is not home. He's not there. He's not in his workshop. He is actually on Miluim. He's doing reserve duty. And this really is a metaphor for the kind of people that we have here. People that have given everything to the state of Israel and will continue to giving everything to the state of Israel. This is what we came to do. And while his workshop, his lifeline is being destroyed, he is still on the borders of Israel doing what he needs to do to protect the rest of us. So I just want to tell you that. The community has organized itself to be there at the workshop from now until the time of its destruction. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen. We're hoping that we will have at least a few hours notice. A big tent has been built to host people to come, and we're calling on everyone to come and visit us and show support, especially while the owner of the house is away in Miluim and can't be there by himself with his family. So there is a protest tent for people to come. We have a lot of people, policymakers, interest groups, influencers who will be on our way here on Friday. It may be after the destruction, but we're having open house event for people to come, talk to the family, see the houses, find out more about the situation. And we are making soup for people that are coming to visit, and we just want to welcome everyone to come. Just generally, we want to open our doors and ask everyone to join us. Also, if you're not here in Israel, if you're further away, we're starting today a campaign on the hashtag 17 homes. We're asking people to hold up a sign saying 17 homes and to tag 2 or 3 friends and challenge them to do that as well, to bring people's awareness to the situation, which is starting to unfold today. With the destruction of the carpentry, and we have 4 more months until the destruction of the rest of the homes, when the rest of the families will be homeless and will watch their houses going down. So we'd like everyone to join in and support us.
So I just want to one more time emphasize what Tali just said. If you're not following, or if you didn't catch the nuance, the person who owns this carpentry factory or woodworking factory, he is going on reserve duty this week. In other words, he's going out and serving on our borders or wherever he's stationed, and his whole parnassah, his livelihood, might be destroyed, and the guy might not even be there as the forces come in to take down his carpentry factory. Because why? Not because he is protesting against the state of Israel, not because he is avoiding his obligations or running off on a vacation. He is doing his miluim, his reserve service. Can you imagine? And that's a very important point here. The image in the mainstream media is of these wild, reckless, crazy settler people, and we see it all the time, the image portrayed by the mainstream media, who are against the state and just cause trouble and just want violence with their neighbors and whatnot. But we are in Elazar and throughout the other 120 communities. You are talking about tax-paying, army-serving citizens of the state who just want to be left alone and go to work and come home at the end of the day like everybody else throughout the country. But unfortunately, we're seeing it here again. We're seeing here a rift, unfortunately, in society. And I feel all the time where I've mentioned this on my show many times, where a delivery guy doesn't want to come to deliver in my neighborhood because it is over the so-called green line, which, we can talk about what that really means in Judea and Samaria. But this guy's going out and serving his country. He fought in the army. He probably fought in multiple wars or battles in Gaza, who knows what. And now he's off in reserve duty. And I know that there's a big sign on top of his house, I am going off to reserve duty, and they're coming to destroy my home. So again, it's unbelievable, the situation. But Tali, I want you again to stress where people can find the information necessary in order to get involved in helping. I know there's Facebook, is there Twitter as well, and again mention the hashtag and how people can find out about the activities. And then, of course, everyone should come to Elazar, to Netiv HaAvot, and help out.
So on Facebook, please join our Facebook group. It's called 17 Homes. Very easy to find us. We also have an Instagram account. I want to tell you about our town, Elazar. Everyone is getting involved, and so the children are running the Instagram accounts. Okay, there are children that are in school. that are in the afternoons coming home before their youth movement, before their afternoon activities. They're going into the area and taking photos. So the Instagram is 17 homes. Facebook is 17 homes. Find us out about us there. Our hashtag also is 17 homes. And ask us questions. Speak to us. Let us tell you more about what's going on through all of these channels. We want to talk to you. We want to tell you about ourselves. And we want you to share the story. There's one more thing that I want to tell you if I've got time. The chapter, and I've said this, earlier on, the chapter of the destruction is probably written. I pray for a miracle. I hope a miracle will happen. I hope these homes won't be destroyed. But it looks like they will be. But what isn't written is the chapter before. And we're the one who writes the history. It's up to me, who lives in Elazar, but it's and close to the neighborhood, but it's also up to each one of us. If you're sitting in the States, if you're sitting in Ranana, if you're sitting in wherever you're sitting, each one of us can be part of this chapter that's unwritten as of yet, by supporting the cause, by telling people about the cause, by holding up our 17 homes hashtag, by supporting in any ways, and on our Facebook group there's going to be a list of ways that you can help and support us, even if it's donations for the families for afterwards, for food for the initial weeks after the destructions of the homes. There's so much to do, and each of us can do it.
I want to thank you so much, Tali Tarlo, for your time today. And again, the situation here, I mean, as she was alluding to, I mean, this is essentially, unfortunately, a microcosm of a greater issue here, at least in my mind, and that being time and time again, we are seeing the destruction of Jewish homes in different areas through Israel. It doesn't have to be that way. There are other solutions. There are other ways to handle situations where there is a question. But I really, truly, unfortunately, it saddens me to say this, I really think it all goes back to just one group hating another group so much that they will do everything in their power to destroy their homes, to take them off their land here, specifically in the heartland, in Yehuda Shomron, in Judea and Samaria. So it pains me to have to bring this to your attention, but in my opinion, I believe that it ultimately starts there. I think that's pretty much going to do it for today. I would really like your feedback. Number one, first of all, get involved and go to the hashtag 17homes. Check it out on Facebook. There's a group, and on Instagram and in other places. It's going to be a big story this week. So check it out in the Israeli press and hopefully in the foreign press as well. And make your voice be heard. Support the families. Get involved. And, of course, if you want to get involved through me, it's Josh at thelandofisrael.com. I can direct you to the right place. Or on Twitter at Josh Haston. On Facebook, Joshua Haston. Let's hope for the best. Let's continue to pray. And let's only hope for good things for these families. And let's hope that no more Jewish homes are destroyed in our land here in the state of Israel. It's absurd. It shouldn't happen. It's happened before. And we should learn from these mistakes that it does not advance anything. It does not advance peace. It does not advance coexistence. It just puts families out in the streets, literally here, Jewish families in Israel. Who would have thought? Unfortunately, with that message, I wish I had some more optimistic news for you today. I usually like to end the show, but let's focus on those families. Maybe I don't know. Maybe this will bring us together in some way. Maybe this will unify us. I mean, it's definitely unifying us here in Elazar. Maybe we can spread that sense of unity to you, the listener, wherever you are in the world. So that's a little bit optimistic. There's some unity going on here, which may be unprecedented. And let's unite during good times as well. I think that's the bottom line. That's going to do it for today. If you missed any part of the show, go back. You can listen on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on the Land of Israel Network website, on my Facebook page. Plenty of ways that you can listen to this show or all the other great shows here on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. My name is Josh Haston here in Elazar, hoping for the best this week. Monday, the 13th of November, 24th of Cheshvan, 5778. Most importantly, between now and when we speak again, please God, next Monday, everybody out there, be safe. Shalom, shalom from Elazar, Gush Etzion.